Well, hello everyone. Here to tell you about is like for questions meeting and talking about is like you're talking about is like your mind thinking and like talk about how well we read people's mind, and on the hand too to talk about with advanced brain power and know about the type of brain power to where I'm sure quite a few people would have, such as the type of brain power to where that for most of the time is knowing about that with students though is like whenever they're in a classroom, and then by the time that they go home and they study and do the stuff that they normally do, and knowing about exactly about knowing about that with any type of student would probably say about the type of brain power to where that they know about as much as a few other students, and knowing about things that more like that they're capable of knowing as well, and knowing about the stuff that they can do and the stuff that they can study, and the type of brain power that I'm talking about is knowing about for each student that more likely that has the type of brain power to where it can hold so much memory. You're able to realize something ahead of time, and you're able to count within a number of seconds, that type of stuff. And like with any type of brain power, and knowing about really that people that may say that there ain't no such thing as like what you call advanced brain power, such as right here you have right here is like with the brain that more likely they say that it could contain about 10 or so billion brain cells. But I just say with somebody's brain right here is knowing about is like really that maybe not everybody would maybe remember every answer from the test, right? But let's just say that with the meeting though, that with the meeting, that knowing about how well that that person can read somebody's mind, and just knowing about that with that person though, that they may realize within ahead of time that hey that well what about for questions concerns number one or something like that, somebody a type of brain power to where they are aware of something ahead of time, as well as knowing about that something that could improve their brain power and knowing about improve their thinking. And if that's regarding maybe the DNA test, and knowing about it's like something that more like could change the DNA, and then maybe the way just the brain functions too. But let's just say that the type of advanced brain power I could be talking about is knowing a type of brain power to where that somebody was like knowing about it's like what you call is a gift, is that for something that you were born with, knowing about that the type of intelligence that students would have, and usually that they say that, well, really, how do students get them? And usually that they say is like, yeah, that the more that you study and the more you work hard for what you're doing, like for for in the classroom, or if it's in the meeting or something like that, then usually that they say that the only way that you would be able to get that kind of strength is if you work hard, and knowing about, like somebody say that, yeah, you be a good boy now, or you be a good girl now, or something. But the way I would think about though is knowing about give it time to work of the just the understanding about the purpose about the brain power. And some that may say that, yeah, well, by the time you do get some type of advanced brain power, such as to memorize maybe every continent, or if it's anything to do with upcoming situations coming up on a schedule or something like that, for anything that you'd be talking about in the meeting though. But I'll just say that for most students though, and then co-workers, if it's doctors, and knowing about the type of brain power to where that it could maybe help and change something, the way something works, such as any test results or anything like that. But the type of brain power that we're talking about is knowing about that with what you call that advanced brain power, to where it improves somebody's thinking, to where that a couple of times a day that they go to class and they don't know exactly about what they're supposed to be doing, that they may not want to do something that's required, that type of stuff. But let's just say the type of brain power I'm talking about is knowing about something that gets somebody interested in knowing about, is like with most students is like for anything that makes them feel confident for what they want to learn. They want to learn more about something. But the way I would think about though with most brain power, with advanced brain power, is that the way the brain works is knowing that one part of the brain, and knowing about for each person that has a brain, and knowing about the type of skills that we have learned at home, such as for when we go home and we relax, we watch TV, we get cleaned up, we eat dinner, lunch and breakfast, and then we get dressed, that type of stuff. But the type of advanced brain power that, of course, we could be thinking about is that the type of skill that you learned at home, that also that you can bring to class or to work with you. They can you can teach somebody else about the basics about. It's like that some people say that a lot of skills that you were born and trained to do is knowing that. It's like what you call it, kept secretly. It's like what you call kept secretly, such as that they're the type of language to where that you can read somebody's mind, you can read you can read what they're thinking, and you have like what you call superpowers, or it is that to where you can do a number of things within a matter of seconds. But then the guy would more likely have like the superpower to where he has clear vision compared to a few other students. You have clear vision and maybe a right meaning thinking or something like that, and then maybe another student in the classroom the more has it, keeps track of remembering things, and as well as counting things and knowing about about the for like anybody say that how many fingers am I holding up, that type of stuff. But the way I think about for how many fingers am I holding up, but on the hand and knowing about is like for knowing about that with the whole purpose about with understanding about mind thinking though is that knowing that whenever we have that's what I call it is like for advanced for advanced brain powers, knowing about that the whole purpose about for advanced brain power is knowing that with the type of brain power that gives the student the ability to whether they can read and understand about for what the meeting and then of course other students in the classroom are doing, and knowing about that usually they say that really like does that information that contain some source of information. Do we think that maybe somebody, just one person in the classroom, do we think that just one person in the classroom should have a lot more thinking and knowledge compared to everybody else? And knowing about, I'm like, really, that not really, but on the other hand too, that knowing about if everybody's following the same pace. It's like with the teacher, and knowing about for whatever that you learned at home, and knowing about that don't get too far behind either. But other than that, I talk about here with for an advanced brain power of understanding about the type of brain power is that I kept thinking about, well, it's all make believe. There's no such thing. A type of brain power to where it helps somebody improve their thinking, and then to be able to help improve their skills if they're having problems with math or science or social studies, any of those subjects. I know about the type of anybody say that something needs to be changed on maybe the DNA or something like that. But let's just say if the situation were to be like is like to read a book, maybe about 3 or 4 pages of a book or an article, and then maybe that could improve like maybe the reading thinking, such as that for some things that for students to understand. But the way I think about though with advanced brain power is knowing about the type of brain power to where a type of skill, if a student were to go home and study that, knowing about the type of brain power to where it gives them to where that ability to where that they can do about the same from for like all the other kids with all the other kids compared to being like what you call the low scale is like a person to where that the type of brain power to where you got to deal with it for the rest of your life. But other than that is just to think about just like being like on everybody else is to test the skills and knowing about say for the advanced brain power until say for the questions meeting activity. Advanced brain power is not something that's going to happen overnight or maybe in 2 days, but on your hand too, that knowing about with advanced brain power. If we would probably think about, I'm like, advanced brain power, huh? The type of brain power that's going to increase that the amount maybe that the brain can do, so how the brain functions, and knowing about the things that maybe we can remember for like they say that the one brain that more likely could contain about at least 10 to 15 or so billion brain cells. Well, let's just say on average though that with those 10 or 15 brain cells, 10 or 15 billion brain cells, is knowing about is like the type of ideas, and knowing about is like the knowledge, and knowing about how much knowledge does one student have compared to maybe the whole class. One student that more likely that contain about maybe 280 or so different types of skills. I'll just say right here about 280. about 280 different skills. All those 280 is knowing about, like, with the advanced brain power, and knowing about really that, you know, if you were to go to college and then learn the basic skills about those 280 skills, and then knowing about, it's like with advanced brain power, it's basically from where your brain was and then where it's going, you know, where it is now, and knowing about, yeah, you know, 5-10 years ago, your brain power was about almost, you know, averaged to 30%, which call considered dumb. It's like considered the type of brain knowledge to where that knowing about them, like what you call maybe mentally retarded or something like that. But the way I think about, though, with like words for respect, knowing about for each student, though, is knowing about with the students, though, that with advanced brain power, let's just say if the brain power could more likely increase to about, let's just say for, you know, 280, and then that, you know, the percentage would be about say 92%. If it could increase to about maybe 53 or so percent more, you know, from the brain power for where it's at, knowing about, anybody say that, yeah, is there any type of medicine, you know, antibiotics, you know, penicillin or anything like that to increase the brain power? And knowing about when we go home and study, and really, you know, are we feeding our brains? Are we feeding our minds? Are we feeding our intelligence whenever we study? Or are we just staring at it? And a lot of times that they say that we'll be surprised, you know, for what we still remember from. It's like if it was a meeting, or if it was something about, yeah, you know, writing something down, and maybe today's date or something like that. Knowing about, it's like with advanced brain power, knowing about right here, it's like, you know, what the, you know, the boy said what, that the boy said what, and then, you know, it's like the girl said, the girl said who, that the girl said, let's just say that the girl said hi. The girl said, the boy said what? The girl said hi. But other than that, like talking about right here, so if I was advanced brain power, what we call advanced brain power, it's basically brain powers that are more likely that are given, and knowing about is like, you know, for the students and, you know, other, you know, persons that wondering is like, you know, talking about is like for how to increase, it's like the brain power of a student, and just knowing about the fact about that, yeah, for, you know, how well that's like response. You know, advanced brain power, knowing about the type of brain power to where it would improve, you know, the skill, you know, from each student's, you know, knowledge for what they remember and what they know. But then there's some that may say that, I'm like, well, you know, advanced brain power, it's all about for what you were born with. You know, we were born, you know, to have a brain to where we're able to remember a lot of things and do certain things, you know, that type of stuff. But is there the type of brain power to where it gives the students or that person's ability to where that they can see things and that, you know, do things, and knowing that what you call, you know, incredible. But on the hand, knowing about, I'm like, you know, for advanced brain power, the type of brain power to where that the type of skill to where something that more likely a student or somebody, a person can learn, you know, at home or maybe at a lab or, you know, in the classroom, and knowing about something that a type of skill that more likely they can, you know, teach somebody else. And anybody wonder, I'm like, yeah, one student that may say that really would only happen only if the person were to study and then do their homework, you know, study for their homework. But then you may say that, and on your hand too, what else are you missing? And knowing about for how well the brain works as well is knowing about that, you know, really that, like talking about, you know, the type of, anybody say that, really, you know, does it take any type of penicillin or any type of shot or booster shot, you know, vitamins just to increase brain power? But then on your hand too, the way I think about it, it's all about, they say that it's not going to happen overnight, but then in the long run, more likely you may be surprised, you know, for what comes up later on. And knowing about, it's like, talk about, it's like for advanced brain power, it's like activity. The type of advanced brain power to where more likely that it would give each student, it's like that opportunity to where that they can, whenever they graduate, that they go out and find jobs to where that they can make twice, you know, the amount of money and know twice as much as, like, you know, from a few other students it is. But let's just say though that knowing about what they say with each person's brain power, more likely that it could more likely increase by maybe about 40%. And there's some that may say, if it's like archaeologists or other doctors that may say that that seems so impossible, especially if it's not related to any vitamins or any maybe any type of taking the shots or anything like any type of medications or anything like that to help improve the brain power. But let's just say that on average that a student's brain power that more likely could increase by maybe 20% if the amount of time that they spend in the classroom was equal to about at least up to at least 5 hours a day at the most. And knowing about the type of skills that more likely from where they're in the classroom and then from whenever they get home, and knowing about is like exactly about for the type of a more likely any student would more likely say it's like something that would improve their thinking and their knowledge, that type of stuff. Knowing about that, maybe that would be a dream to have that type of skill, but in order to be able to get that far, it just seems like it all requires a lot of studying, a lot of thinking. They may say, yeah, well, true, but then on the other hand too, that knowing about something that maybe you can learn, that a student can maybe learn at home, what we can learn at home to maybe show other students and the other persons knowing about for what we know as well. But other than that, like I talk about, say, for the advanced brain power, knowing about for what we remember and knowing about what we think, and knowing about is to remember. I talk about it for how we use our brain. And it's like for understanding about really about for what we know that more likely could make a difference. But other than that, talk say for the advanced brain power, talk about anybody say that, yeah, well, advanced brain power is usually what I call it. But then we may think though that some that may say that, well, it's called the Bavio brain or something like that. It's like to say that the outstanding advanced skills or something, or maybe the Improver notepad or something like that. Something to help improve the brain, the way that the mind thinking goes. But other than that, like I talk about, it's like you take a test and anything that more like that could improve the brain skills as well as so far as for advanced brain power. The type of brain power to where it gives the student the ability to where that it would be about twice the thinking to where that they're able to at least do a number like they say that, yeah, you're talking about that there are what you call millions of so-called jobs that more likely that can use it as the same type of brain power, and knowing about for how we control our thinking, and it's like so far as our knowledge it is. But let's just say if the power were to come from knowing about like for whatever we learned at home and at school, and knowing about for how we can actually bring that to the actual lab, it's like to where we go, is knowing about for the education so far as for advanced brain power. What the advanced brain power, knowing about, let's just say if the advanced brain power could be, it's like if it's inside, the hands, or if it's inside the mind, and knowing about that you have right here, it's like for advanced brain power. And let's just say if I were to write here, knowing about right here for advanced brain power, using a pencil right here. If we can see that right there, if we were to use a different type of writing utensil, and knowing about right there, and say that, yeah, for advanced brain power, and I went ahead and wrote down for advanced brain power. But other than that, like I talk about, I'm like the type of power to knowing about if it's like what you call between brain and brine, and along with bravo. So far as talk about, it's like for brain and brine and bravo, and talk say understanding about advanced brain power.